Many senior men have spent decades learning how to stay composed during life's greatest challenges. They may have experienced the loss of loved ones, the end of a long marriage, career setbacks, health concerns, or other difficult transitions that required strength and resilience. Over time, this ability to remain calm often becomes an important part of their identity. It helps them solve problems, manage stress, and avoid unnecessary conflict. However, one of the most common dating mistakes after 60 is assuming that emotional restraint automatically communicates maturity. While emotional stability is attractive, emotional distance can unintentionally create barriers that make genuine connection difficult. A woman may admire a man who is dependable and thoughtful, but if she rarely sees his genuine feelings, she may struggle to understand who he truly is. Psychology suggests that emotional intimacy develops through gradual, mutual self-disclosure, rather than through perfection or constant confidence. This doesn't require dramatic conversations or sharing deeply personal experiences on the first few dates. Instead, it grows through small moments of authenticity that allow two people to understand each other's values, hopes, and personalities. For example, a man might explain why retirement changed his perspective on time, describe how becoming a grandfather taught him patience, or talk about a meaningful hobby that brings him peace. These kinds of conversations reveal character rather than simply exchanging facts. Emotional openness also includes expressing appreciation, acknowledging excitement about future plans, or admitting when something is meaningful. Many people mistakenly believe that avoiding emotional topics prevents vulnerability, but in reality, it often prevents closeness as well. Healthy communication involves sharing thoughts and feelings in a balanced way, while remaining respectful of personal boundaries. It also means being curious about the other person's experiences instead of focusing only on practical topics like schedules, finances, or daily routines. Active listening, thoughtful questions, and genuine empathy create an atmosphere where trust develops naturally over time. Emotional intelligence research consistently shows that people feel more connected when they believe their thoughts and emotions are welcomed without judgment. This doesn't mean agreeing on everything or becoming emotionally dependent. Rather, it means allowing another person to see your authentic reactions, your sense of humor, your gratitude, and the lessons life has taught you. Many senior men have accumulated remarkable wisdom through decades of experience. But that wisdom becomes far more meaningful in a relationship when it is shared with warmth, sincerity, and openness, instead of being kept quietly beneath the surface. Many senior men return to dating after spending decades in a marriage or after being away from romantic relationships for many years. During that time, society, communication styles, and personal expectations have naturally evolved. One of the biggest dating mistakes after 60 is assuming that the same relationship rules that worked decades ago should automatically apply today. While timeless qualities such as kindness, honesty, loyalty, and respect remain important, many people now approach relationships with different priorities shaped by life experience. Women over 60 are often entering relationships after raising families, building careers, caring for loved ones, or navigating major life transitions. As a result, they may value companionship, emotional connection, and mutual respect more than traditional relationship roles or expectations. Approaching every new relationship with assumptions based on the past can unintentionally create misunderstandings before two people have truly gotten to know one another. Behavioral psychology suggests that our previous experiences naturally influence how we interpret new situations. This tendency can be helpful because it allows us to recognize familiar patterns, but it can also limit our ability to see people as individuals. For example, a man who spent decades believing he should always make every decision may unintentionally overlook the importance of shared decision-making. Likewise, assuming that certain responsibilities belong to one person based solely on old habits can make a relationship feel less balanced. Every individual brings unique experiences, preferences, and expectations, regardless of age or gender. The healthiest relationships after 60% often begin with curiosity rather than assumptions. Instead of trying to fit someone into a familiar role, meaningful conversations allow both people to discover what matters most to each other. Asking thoughtful questions about daily routines, favorite activities, personal values, travel interests, family relationships, volunteer work, or retirement goals creates opportunities for genuine understanding. Listening carefully to the answers without rushing to compare them with past relationships helps build mutual respect. It also demonstrates emotional intelligence because it communicates that the other person's perspective deserves attention. Healthy communication after 60 is often less about following traditional dating rules and more about creating new patterns together. Some couples enjoy frequent phone calls, while others prefer occasional messages and independent schedules. Some appreciate carefully planned dates, while others enjoy simple walks, coffee conversations, or shared hobbies. There is no universal formula because every relationship develops according to the personalities involved. Flexibility allows both people to adapt naturally instead of trying to recreate a version of dating that belonged to another stage of life. Openness to learning, willingness to communicate expectations clearly, and genuine respect for each other's independence often create stronger foundations than relying on assumptions formed decades earlier. For many senior men, the idea of dating again after 60 brings excitement, but it can also awaken quiet fears that are rarely discussed. One of the most powerful is the fear of rejection. Unlike younger years, when people often expect to meet many new partners, dating later in life can feel more significant because every connection may seem more valuable. Some men begin to believe that opportunities for meaningful relationships are limited, making the possibility of rejection feel much more personal. As a result, they become overly cautious without realizing it. Instead of expressing genuine interest, they wait for unmistakable signs before taking any step forward. They may avoid asking someone to meet for lunch, hesitate to suggest another date, or keep conversations friendly but emotionally distant. These behaviors often feel like self-protection, yet they can unintentionally prevent a promising relationship from developing. Behavioral psychology explains that people naturally try to avoid situations that might cause emotional discomfort. While this strategy can reduce anxiety in the short term, it often reinforces fear over time. Every avoided conversation, delayed invitation, or missed opportunity quietly teaches the brain that uncertainty should be escaped rather than managed. Over months or years, this pattern can become a habit. A man may tell himself that he is simply being patient or respectful, when in reality he is allowing fear to make decisions on his behalf. The other person, however, may interpret that hesitation very differently. She might assume he is uninterested, emotionally unavailable, or unsure about pursuing a relationship, even if he genuinely enjoys spending time with her. A healthier approach is to recognize that rejection is a normal part of getting to know another person, rather than a judgment of personal worth. Every individual has different life circumstances, personalities, values, and relationship goals. Sometimes two kind, emotionally healthy people simply are not compatible, and that reality says very little about either person's character. Viewing dating as a process of mutual discovery, instead of a test of personal value, can reduce unnecessary pressure. Rather than focusing on whether someone will choose you, it becomes more helpful to ask whether both people genuinely enjoy each other's company, communicate comfortably, and share similar hopes for the future. Simple, confident actions often create stronger connections than waiting for perfect certainty. Suggesting a casual coffee, expressing appreciation after spending time together, asking thoughtful questions, or honestly saying that you enjoyed the conversation are all respectful ways to show interest without placing overwhelming expectations on the other person. Emotional resilience grows through experience, not avoidance, and every sincere interaction provides an opportunity to practice confidence, strengthen communication skills, and become more comfortable with the natural uncertainty that exists in every developing relationship. Many senior men entering the dating world after 60 understand that compatibility matters, but they often focus on the practical areas of life while overlooking emotional compatibility. They may consider important questions such as where they want to live, how they want to spend retirement, financial responsibilities, family situations, health routines, or shared interests. These factors can certainly influence a relationship, but one of the biggest dating mistakes is assuming that practical similarities automatically create a strong emotional connection. Two people can enjoy the same activities, have similar lifestyles, and share many common interests, yet still struggle if they communicate differently, handle conflict in opposite ways, or express affection in incompatible styles. Emotional compatibility is about how two people connect, understand, and support each other during everyday moments. It involves the ability to listen, express feelings, manage disagreements, and create a sense of safety within the relationship. Many relationships do not struggle because two people lack common interests. They struggle because they do not understand each other's emotional needs. For example, one person may prefer to discuss problems immediately and find relief through conversation, while another person may need quiet time to process thoughts before responding. Neither approach is necessarily wrong, but without understanding and patience, these differences can create frustration and misunderstandings. After 60, many people have developed strong personal habits over several decades. These habits may include how they communicate, how they handle stress, and how they respond when they feel disappointed. Because these patterns are deeply established, emotional awareness becomes especially important. A senior man who only looks for someone who enjoys his hobbies may miss important signs about how well they connect during challenging moments. A couple might both enjoy traveling, cooking, or gardening, but if they cannot respectfully discuss disagreements, those shared activities may not be enough to maintain a healthy relationship. Building emotional compatibility begins with paying attention to small daily interactions. Does the other person feel comfortable sharing opinions? Do both people show appreciation and respect? Can they laugh together and also have meaningful conversations when life becomes difficult? Are both willing to listen instead of immediately defending their own viewpoint? These questions reveal much more about long-term connection than shared interests alone. Developing emotional intelligence also means understanding that differences are normal. A successful relationship does not require two people to think, react, or communicate in exactly the same way. Instead, it requires a willingness to understand each other's perspectives and find respectful ways to meet in the middle. When senior men evaluate relationships through both practical compatibility and emotional connection, they create a better opportunity for a partnership built on trust, understanding, and genuine companionship, rather than simply having similar routines or interests. Some senior men returning to dating after 60 make the mistake of believing they must prove their value before someone can appreciate them. This mindset often comes from a lifetime of achievements, responsibilities, and experiences where success was measured by what they accomplished. A successful career, financial stability, personal achievements, or the ability to provide for others can all be meaningful parts of a person's story. However, relationships are not built like business achievements or personal competitions. One of the biggest dating mistakes is approaching connection as something that must be won through impressing another person rather than something that grows through mutual understanding and shared experiences. When a man feels he must constantly demonstrate his worth, conversations can unintentionally become one-sided. He may spend most of his time describing his accomplishments, past experiences, possessions, or the difficulties he has overcome, while asking fewer questions about the other person's life. Although these stories may come from a place of pride or a desire to be respected, emotional connection requires more than admiration. Most people want to feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual. A relationship becomes stronger when both people have space to share their stories, opinions, memories, and hopes for the future. Psychology shows that meaningful relationships often develop through emotional responsiveness. This means recognizing another person's feelings, showing genuine interest, and responding in ways that communicate care. A woman may remember less about an impressive story and more about how she felt during the conversation. Did she feel listened to? Did she feel comfortable being herself? Did she feel that her experiences mattered? These emotional moments often create deeper attraction because they build trust and a sense of connection. Building attraction after 60 is not about pretending to be someone else or hiding personal achievements. It is about creating balance. Sharing personal experiences can be valuable when it also opens the door for the other person to share. For example, talking about a meaningful career moment can become a deeper conversation by asking how her own life experiences shaped her values and dreams. Discussing past challenges can become an opportunity to understand how both people learned and grew from difficult situations. The strongest connections often come from simple moments of authenticity, laughing together, remembering small details, showing appreciation, offering encouragement, and being genuinely curious about another person's world. A person who feels emotionally comfortable is more likely to open up and build trust. Instead of trying to convince someone that you are worthy of love or companionship, a healthier approach is to allow your character, kindness, emotional presence, and genuine interest to naturally become visible through everyday interactions and shared experiences.